There we go. Hello, Sands. Oh, at this stage, it's just you and me and anyone who's watching on catch up. So,
Well, that's all good. We can have a nice chat.
hi, Sands. It's the first time you and I are actually doing a GIF Ed together. Hey, I've been watching yours. but I've never actually done a GIF Ed with you. So this is pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Awesome, man. Okay, so let me just quickly do that thing where we find ourselves and everyone's like, let me find ourselves.
Oh, we got somebody. Hello, Sam.
Oh, we have people. Yay. Awesome. Nice to see you, Sam. Come on in, guys. Say hi if you're here. Oh, let me just make sure I'm muted here. There we go. Awesome. Come on and say hello, guys. I'm very excited to do this GIF Ed with you today, Sandy. So we are talking about immunity specifically, and this is a GIF Ed that's sponsored by CIPLA. Thank you. Yeah. And so we are very excited, and thank you so much, CIPLA, for sponsoring this so we can talk about this topic. I think a very relevant topic at this moment in time. And I think it's good for people to understand how we naturally and in different ways can boost our immunity and understanding what the immunity is. So, yeah, guys, we're also, hi, Iva. Granny's over there. Nice to see you, Granny. And Karen Shax is here. Nice to see you guys. Keep swiping in. And I want to encourage everyone listening in. Make sure that you send us your questions through. We'd love to get your questions. And Sandy's going to share quite a bit of information with us today. So we're going to consider this an info session. And if we don't have the answers for you, we will do what we can to get those answers for you. So please make sure that you do share those questions and don't hesitate to ask. So yeah, Sands, how are you? Are you doing well?
I am very well, thank you. All good.
Are you guys
Looking forward to the chat.
Yes. Are you guys keeping your health up?
Yes. It's every second person I speak to, unfortunately, is testing positive, but so far, so good. Yeah.
I know. I feel like it's wildfire at the moment. Sue Oldfield, you're over there. Welcome with us, Sue. Sue's been chatting with me yesterday about her own immunity at the moment too. So Sue, nice to see you. And yeah, guys, I'm excited. So Sands, do you want to go ahead and just kick us off? I think so we maximize our time.
Yes. So I've tried to, just a bit of background, I've tried to keep things quite simple. So we're not getting bogged down by too much detail, but hopefully it will get some thoughts going and some questions. And I think a lot of it is common sense as well, but it's always good to hear it again. All right. So if we can start with some slides. Okay. So thanks again, CIPLA, for sponsoring this talk. So just if you start off, sort of basically give a bit of an overview of what the immune system is. It's basically our defense system against both foreign and domestic attack. It fights infection from bacteria, viruses, and parasites. It also neutralizes toxins and protects against disease, and helps our body recover after injury as well. So we could see sort of the system or the white blood cells in our body as the soldiers, and they transport by the blood and the lymph to all the different sites where they are needed. Okay, so how does this actually happen? How do we fight the villains that, if just left to their own devices, would basically wreak havoc? So we have two main types of responses or strategies that our body uses when it comes to immunity, and they're fancy words, but I'm going to try and keep them simple. So the first one is innate, and the other one is adaptive, and I'll go into a little bit more detail as to what we mean by both of those different systems or strategies. So the innate immune system or response is basically what we are born with. It's our natural defense against foreign invaders, all the germs. It involves sort of our exterior defense system, which includes the skin, the gut, lungs, eyes, nose. So it's sort of first level defense. It's the guys who are fighting the front line. And it also includes the tears, mucus, enzymes, low pH, gut and skin microbiome, the friendly bacteria who fight off the not so friendly bacteria. All of these different strategies that our body has over the years sort of evolved to protect us. But now, every now and then, in fact, quite often sometimes, the pathogen unfortunately makes it through all these barriers. And at that point in time, there's sort of an antigen, there's a substance on the pathogen that our body recognizes as foreign. and it gets engulfed by cells called phagocytes. They're basically white blood cells. We get so many different types of white blood cells. And at the same time, when this happens, there's sort of a cascade of events that causes cytokine release, and I'm sure that's a word you're all familiar with also since COVID has reared its nasty face, and then other inflammatory compounds. So basically the whole inflammation cascade is set off. And as we know, inflammation is good. It helps us sort of heal, it helps fight infection, but at the same time, it can be not so great if there are no sort of off switches. And a lot of autoimmune diseases are based on that, where unfortunately inflammation gets out of hand. And then there's some nasty side effects to that.
I think it's so good that you're saying that we need to note that inflammation is your body's way of telling you that something is wrong, and that you need to actually, it's also the healing process, but that prolonged infection is actually going to cause your body that harm. So it's a helpful way for us to know what's going on. So it's our body's natural alarm that sounds off to say something is wrong. There's something that you need to pay attention to. So so I think it's great.
Yes. And we think inflammation, we think negative, but actually inflammation as an acute response is very positive. And thank goodness we have it. As part of our defense system. So then we talk about the adaptive immune response. Now that is a very important one as well, and that's the one that you basically develop immunity over time with this response through being exposed to germs, having vaccinations, and you'll see that's why sort of as our kiddies, when they first start off in life, they get a transient immune response through breast milk. Often they'll get a bit of assistance there, but once they're left to their own devices, they need to now develop this adaptive immune response over the years, and unfortunately that means getting sick quite often. And we all know how that happens. It's like permanent snot when they're young. And that's all a good thing. It's the body's way of developing a good, strong immune system.
That's right.
Now, during this sort of response, the B and the T lymphocytes come into play, and I'm sure you're all familiar with those words. I think everybody has probably become an expert in immune systems over the last 2 years. But the B lymphocytes are the ones that secrete antibodies to kill those extracellular pathogens. I thought those sound like very fancy words. Basically, it means all the pathogens are the bad guys, the villains, and extracellular means outside the body's cells. So sort of going through all the sort of blood, lymph, anything extracellular fluid outside of the cells. And then the T lymphocytes, I mean, we could spend about 3 hours on T lymphocytes, but in a nutshell, they activate those white blood cells to destroy the engulfed pathogens or the villains. And then they also bind to and kill infected cells. So they play a really important role. The thing with the innate immune system is that's the one that sort of fires up quickly. So that's your immediate response. When your body is attacked, that's the first line defense, and it's sort of a couple of hours. Whereas your adaptive immune response happens over time. And that's the one that suddenly the body realizes, hang on, we're under siege, we're under fire, and now suddenly needs to defend itself. So the immediate one is innate, and obviously there sort of gives the body time. It's fighting sort of first level front line, gives the body time to develop this army, to get the soldiers going and attack whatever's attacking you. And now the whole point is that, and maybe I should go to the next slide, is that in an ideal world, your immune system then is regulated. So once the battle is over and we've won, everything switches off and the threat's gone and we go back to normal. Some people don't have that, and sometimes it's just sort of, like we mentioned earlier, that inflammation just continues. So even though the threat is long gone, that inflammation remains, and that can make people very ill. And what also in an ideal world is we want our immune system to remember the battle. We want those soldiers to be on full alert when they see a similar villain appearing. Now, it's not a case of slowly but surely building up, getting those antibodies produced, getting those fighter T cells produced. Now they're all they're waiting, they're prepared. So as soon as they see them, they nip it in the butt and you don't get sick. So that's the idea behind the immune system, and especially the immune system where you've got a memory. So you've got this immunity against certain villains, should we say, or pathogens. You can see that I have children because I'm
I love it. That's the best way, because we got to teach them. That's great.
Okay. So the question that everybody's possibly asking is, well, what should we do? When we're all potentially exposed to this new variety, unfortunately, of COVID. It spreads extremely fast. I'm sure we all know, we can count on both hands the number of people who've tested positive.
Yeah.
And what do we need to do? And I think what we need to do is just literally optimize the immune system. Make sure that we're doing what we can, and what we can control, we're controlling well. It's not to say that you won't become infected. There's a whole different discussion around that. And unfortunately, a lot of the time it's bad luck. But if you are infected, we want our body to be able to fight things as best as possible. So I've listed here a few factors we need to look at and make sure that we're ticking the boxes. I always sort of laugh at myself when I say stress, because just manage your stress, you'll be fine. It's not that easy, unfortunately. If it was, it would be fantastic. And first of all, we often have to identify what is stressing us, and sometimes it's not that obvious either. A little bit of stress is good, but if it's sort of chronic stress that builds up, we need to address that. We need to, we need to manage it as best we can, because that sort of constant level, high cortisol levels as well, doesn't help the situation. But if we go back up to the top of the list, there's sleep. Sleep is very important, and that's another one which, my sleep actually the last few months is a little bit up and down. I have to be honest, not ideal. I fear I might be approaching that middle life phase, but hopefully not. Hopefully it's an interim thing. But sleep is really important, and we all know that if you're not sleeping well, your body's not firing optimally, and you need to try and address that as best possible. If it's something easy, like I don't know, maybe the puppy is next to you, is waking you up during the night, maybe the puppy must sleep somewhere else. Invariably, it's not that easy. But I think you need to address that and speak to potentially a professional who can assist you there as well. Yeah, next, I've highlighted the topics that I think we can go into more detail, especially in terms of my expertise. So quality,
and our topics as well, which is great.
Absolutely. So quality of diet. I mean, that's a really, really important one, and often there's so much information flying around. It's difficult to know what sort of makes the most sense and what's based on good science as well. And then we come to gut health, another one I mentioned before. That's sort of that first line of defense often is your gut lining, and if your gut lining is not in optimal condition, you are going to struggle. Sort of, you're going to let through some of those pathogens that otherwise could potentially not have entered the body at all. And the reason, we're not specifically just talking about COVID, we're talking about anything. I mean, there's a stomach bug that's doing the rounds at the moment as well. And the problem is, if you do sort of catch a bug, whatever it is, unfortunately, your immune system is sort of overloaded already. So when you are faced with another bug, potentially, you're more at risk for picking up other bugs when you're already fighting something. So you want to try and really optimize things and prevent any type of bug from entering the system. So that was gut health, and we'll chat a little bit more about that soon. And then vitamin and mineral status, also very important. We've got all those antioxidants. I mean, A, C, E. We've got the minerals, selenium, zinc. There's a long list, and we need to make sure that we're getting in sufficient amounts. And I'll chat a bit more about that now as well. So we mentioned stress and activity. We need to keep active. Really, really important as well. We need to keep active, and there's always a fine line between enough and beneficial exercise and then overdoing it. Because as soon as you sort of, I think of my husband when he was training for the Ironman, and I saw that as overdoing it, to be honest. It's not something you find me doing. But obviously, it's great, and it's good, and it's healthy. But the training potentially could be overdoing it, where it actually compromises the immune system as opposed to having benefits for the immune system. And in situations like that, your requirements for certain nutrients and vitamins and minerals increases. And if you're not matching that with the increased exercise, you invariably are going to pick up the bugs.
Your deficit being too great, then you're actually putting yourself at risk of injury and sickness.
Absolutely. Yeah, both factors. Yeah. Okay, and then body composition as well. Sort of, if you're very overweight, if sort of fat percentage is quite high, naturally there's going to be a degree of inflammation in your body already. So that's just going to sort of be multiplied if you are picking up something, your body's own natural inflammation compounded with the immune system inflammation. So yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people would have read about that as well in terms of COVID and risk factors there. So it's just important to manage that, to be aware of it, and to have a plan to make sure that you're working towards an optimal body composition.
Awesome. Sure. And I love that because everything that you had, we just changed slides, but everything that you just had on the previous slide is just so in line with all of our values. Everything that we stand for and all of our pillars. Like, we actually want people to live holistic, healthy lives, not just for bikini bodies, but for their health, their internal health, their wellness, not this fitness, but their wellness as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think what for me stands out about Jeff and Jeff's program, especially I'm thinking in terms of the one-on-one coaching, is that it's not a quick fix. We're not advocating quick fix. It's a long-term plan.
Yes.
Invariably, the quick fix is sort of way too low in calories, way too much exercise where you're actually compromising the immune system because you want results in X number of days. And we're not about that. For us, it's doing something that you can sustain. And like you say, it's the health factor features strongly there.
I mean, the fact that we were both coaches, doesn't play a factor into that at all, right?
Yeah, of course not.
No, I mean, I'm joking, but at the same time, it really is. That's why we do what we do, because we want people to have whole, long lives, not a quick fix that's actually just going to give you quick results, and then you go back to the way you were or worse before that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so that goes right into balance.
So yes, so just briefly, I mean, I know I want to leave some time for questions, so I'm not going to speak too much, but just in terms of your balanced eating, your balanced diet, like we mentioned, alluded to already, you need sufficient calories. We don't want this sort of starve myself, get some few kilograms less. It might be muscle mass, but hey, we don't want that kind of thought process. We don't want you to go on a severely restricted eating plan. You need to make sure that the eating plan you have matches the exercise you're doing. It matches your daily requirements for calories, and that's very important, because if you go too low, that's another type of stress on your body as well, and that, as you know, will be detrimental in terms of immune system. And then the next point there is variety of foods, and the reason we say that is because every food has a different sort of breakdown or segmentation of different fibers, vitamins, minerals. Some you'll find are richer in vitamin C, some richer in vitamin A. And it's important, if you want to meet your daily requirements, that you try and get as much variety as possible. And I sometimes laugh at myself because I'm not known for my fancy meals by any means, very simple. But we do at the same time try and get variety, and whether it's in form of the fruit, whether it's different grains, that type of thing. And it's important that you do focus on that.
That's awesome.
Yes, and then the next point there is whole, minimally processed foods as well. We want, and I know it's a bit of a cliche, but as close to nature as possible. It's when that flour gets processed and it's just sort of sugar, that's when it loses its benefits, loses all the vitamins that come with it. So really, really try, and when eating specifically starch foods, try and eat them in their raw state, in their most wholesome state. Then you're going to get all the goodness that comes with it in the form of the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals as well. And then I know this is quite relevant over the silly or the festive season, is limit the empty calories. So when we say empty calories, we're talking junk food, basically. So we like to call it soul food, feel good food, and I definitely have my fair share of empty calories, but you don't want to, and I think when you're on holiday, suddenly the empty calories appear more frequently. Just make sure that you're not compromising the good stuff. So you can have your chocolate. I always use that. I don't know why, as an example. Maybe she loves chocolate.
I'm with you, girl.
So you can have your chocolate, but just make sure that you're still getting in the good stuff, so that your body's immune system is getting all the nutrients that it needs. And sort of the soul food that you have is over and above that. And I'm definitely not saying don't have any empty calories, because I'm certainly going to have some chocolate over the festive season, or what maybe a few other ideas as well. But just moderate it and make sure that it's not a case of replacing the good stuff.
That's so funny, because you were talking about the villains and everything before, and how you're explaining it to your kids. So one of the ways that I've been explaining it to my kids, like the difference between calories, because obviously they're too little, they don't understand. And one of the ways that we've been explaining it is fuel foods. So the foods that give you energy, because kids can understand, like they watch Sonic or whatever it is, and so the things that gives them a boost and energy, and that can fuel them properly. And that's the first one. And then fun foods. So the things that are fun in life that you can really enjoy. So I like the goal foods and the soul food and just helping people to understand that it's absolutely okay to have those, but to limit it, because if you have that in the majority, then you're actually not fueling your body well.
Exactly.
But we still need the fun.
I'm all for that. So absolutely.
Me too. That's the only reason Jeff has worked for me, is because I could have my chocolate and my jam.
Absolutely. No, and I couldn't be the same without it, to be honest. So the secret is just to pace yourself and to find the right balance.
Exactly. Awesome. All right, guys, keep sending through questions too as Sans go through this. Please let us know, if you have any questions. We're just excited that we get to talk about this today with you guys, considering the context and the time of year. So please send those through, and then we'll get back to you.
Fantastic. So I'm going to try and speed up a little bit, because I do want to leave time for questions. But just in terms of gut health, if there's any reason as to why your gut is not firing optimally, so if there's inflammation, if it's a case of IBS or something's not working nicely, and invariably if that's happening, there's inflammation and that gut lining is not optimal, which means that more pathogens, more villains can pass through there. So you just need to potentially see if there's intolerances. Maybe it's a quick fix. Maybe there's a lactose intolerance, and you can replace your dairy with lactose-free dairy. But the best way to establish that would be to keep a bit of a food diary, jot down foods that you think are potentially problematic, and then you could eliminate them. It's probably not going to work over the festive season so well for too many people, but it might be something that maybe you've got more time to do as well. So eliminate some of the suspect foods and then reintroduce them gradually and see if it makes a difference. Then there's the whole big, again, we could have a whole chat about the gut-brain barrier, but there's a direct connection, and stress definitely affects our gut. I mean, you can feel that if you're nervous for something, scared, you feel it in your stomach. So that's also something to be aware of. And then the gut microbiome is one of my favorite topics. In fact, you need to make sure that the good guys are flourishing and not the not so healthy guys, and you need to feed them properly. So what the research has shown is that sort of too much saturated fat, too much in the way of refined carbs, not great for those guys. They prefer the whole foods, the ones that come with good supply of vitamins, minerals, and fiber, or the non-processed foods. Okay, so that's also something to bear in mind.
Awesome.
Then vitamins and minerals, and I'm sure that's on everybody's mind as well. So should I be taking some extra vitamins, minerals? What do I need to do? So I've just summarized a few, and there's a lot that play a role in terms of the immune system. One that's quite relevant is vitamin D, and that's something that you get from the sun. So a lot of us will get sufficient quantities, but it is something that you want to make sure you're getting enough of. Some people, like me, a little bit pale and covered in moles, covered in sun cream when you go out, you might need to sort of have a look, see if you need to supplement every now and then, maybe during the winter months, but it's something just to be aware of. Then the vitamin A, C, and E, which are the classic antioxidants, really important to make sure you get enough there. The minerals are copper, zinc, and selenium, also act as antioxidants. And sometimes you might be sort of eating a good balanced diet and there's sufficient quantities in there for a typical person, but maybe your stress levels are skyrocketed, and they're way too high, and maybe you're following a lower calorie diet than you should be. And suddenly your requirements are now a lot higher. And in those situations, there's definitely a potential benefit of supplementing. And that's something that you should definitely be aware of. I think for me, from my point of view, if you can get sort of an all-round sort of multivitamin supplement, that's great. You don't want to be supplementing necessarily too high on one vitamin or mineral unless there is a reason you need to, unless you've actually shown that there's a deficiency in a specific area. So that's also important to remember. But definitely, if you feel that you need a bit of a boost, and maybe you're traveling as well, and suddenly the fresh fruit and vegetables aren't as available, then definitely making sure you've got an extra boost of vitamin C, potentially zinc, just as a backup, almost a bit of an insurance policy sometimes, sort of a low-dose multivitamin might be a good idea. What they've shown with vitamin C as well is that it's not going to prevent you getting sick, but it might shorten the duration and the severity of the symptoms, which can be beneficial as well. Yeah. So I think the important thing is that you can get all of this from your food, but sometimes if your requirements are higher than they would normally be for whatever reason, you should potentially consider supplementation. And that can vary according to the seasons, could vary according to what's happening in your life. So it's not to say that you consistently need to supplement, but you need to be aware of it and see when maybe you need a bit of an extra boost.
Okay.
So we can just literally scan over this, just some food sources. Vitamin A would be your dark green leafy vegetables, orange and yellow veg. Vitamin E, peanut butter, almonds, your seeds. Asparagus is another good one. Asparagus actually great for the microbiome as well. They love asparagus, nice form of food for them and helps them flourish. And then vitamin C would be your citrus fruits, berries, kiwi fruit, peppers. Every now and then I give my daughter like almost a whole pepper. She loves peppers. I get your vitamin C, there you go. She hasn't had enough fruit in the day.
Yeah, mine too. It is so great. Yeah.
It's a fantastic one, yeah. And then Brussels sprouts, we unfortunately don't have many of those, but a fantastic food. It's all because mommy doesn't like them. Potatoes and tomatoes also really, really good.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not going to get my kids to eat Brussels sprouts if I'm not eating it myself. Hey.
You got to think of yourself here. You can't force them and then you don't eat it. Okay, so in a nutshell, take-home message. Eat a well-balanced diet with lots of variety. Don't go too extreme in terms of calories. Eat whole foods where possible. Consider supplementation if unable to eat a balanced diet or your nutrient requirements are higher because of stress, illness, or perhaps you're traveling, you're not having access to all the foods you need to. Exercise regularly and ensure sufficient vitamin D.
Awesome. So get outside, because I think especially in virtual space, we've been inside quite a bit. So I think it's important for people to make sure that they get some time outside. Oh man, that was so good, Sands. Thank you so much. I actually I haven't seen any questions that come up specifically for this, but if you guys have questions, let us know. But I have seen Anna has said that she will need to come back to watch this because she feels like this is so relevant to her, and I feel like everybody. It is so relevant to all of us right now. For those of us who have, kids that are wrapping up at school, that are being exposed. I think we, like Sandy said, we know so many people that are currently infected. So it's important for us to just boost our immunity all the time, but it's also great to have this as a resource at the moment to continue to be empowered. And I think one of the things that you touched on, and I think it's also important for us to note, is that an excessive amount of sugar will also lower your immunity. So limit the sugar intake if it's, for anything, if not for your health and wellness journey, it's for your health, your actual health. Like trying to like as a coach here, like trying to get people to make good choices over the holidays.
Absolutely. But remember, we are going to have our chocolate. So it's not like we say don't have
no, not at all.
Moderate.
Exactly.
And absolutely don't replace the good stuff. I think for me, that's the biggest message, is that over the holidays, especially, often we think, okay, well, it's fine. I'll keep my calories the same, but I'm going to have chocolates all day, every day, or mince pies, or whatever it might be. That's where the problem arises, is that you're literally loading yourself full of sugar, like you say. It's not going to do yourself any favors, and you're missing out on good foods, which is actually, those are the ones that are going to protect you and boost your immune system.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So Sue's asking, how much zinc should one take on a daily basis? Do you want to take that one?
So that's a good one. Sue, I'm going to have to get back to you because it does depend on your age category as well. But I'll private message you that one. I don't want to give you the incorrect information there. There's sort of daily allowances depending on what category of age you're in. So I will definitely message you after this. Just make 100% sure. In fact, I'm going to look in that book right behind you. And I will confirm shortly.
Awesome. And then for anyone else who's wondering as well, I'm sure that they can talk to their GP or talk to to talk to your coach. Your coach will be able to help you get that answer as well, based on your body composition, age, and all of that, to make sure that what you're getting is sufficient for you. But yes, there's no one cookie cutter answer when it comes to minerals or vitamins, unfortunately.
Absolutely not. And you might find that your zinc requirements are slightly higher than what is recommended anyway. And in that situation, maybe there's a need to supplement. My message sort of is that if you haven't tested your blood sugar levels, if you haven't actually been shown to have a deficiency in something, don't go and pick up the highest dose multivitamin, the highest dose vitamin, sort of pure zinc or pure iron. You need to actually, before you supplement with those high dose vitamins or minerals, you need to make sure there's actually deficiency. Otherwise, you can do more harm than good. So what I would recommend is that if you just want that extra boost, it's a multivitamin, something that's going to have a balanced ingredient list, not too high dose of anything. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, exactly. Is there perhaps a guide on alkaline foods and how to improve your gut health with suggested foods or products?
Okay, so that's, again, it's not specific. I wouldn't go sort of alkaline foods. Often your body is actually going to adapt. Your kidneys, your blood is so incredibly clever in that it can actually, that's its job, is to make sure that the acidity, the pH is balanced at all times. And it will naturally do that, whether it's a case of using existing minerals to balance. Maybe you've had a high protein food, and it will always work it out. It will balance things. So I don't have any specific recommendations there when it comes to alkaline foods. I think if you naturally eat quite a few plant-based foods, you are going to be ticking that box anyway. So your body won't have to work as hard to make sure that pH is balanced. So if you're not somebody who eats a lot of plant-based foods, I would recommend you do that as a strategy there, just to make sure that you're not putting extra pressure on your systems, on your body systems to find that balance. But if you do if you don't eat enough of the plant-based foods, your body is going to be in a good position. It can fix that. So there's mechanisms that your body uses to counteract that, whether it's excreting certain excess vitamins by the urine. The body's quite advanced and quite clever at doing that. So so there's no specific recommendations, just introducing more plant-based foods.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Sands? I'm checking through the comments here. Pat Governor says it's been a while since she's heard you, Sandy.
Auntie Pat.
She's loving this topic, and also she loves her ice cream. She said,
"I should bring that now."
I mean, in Durban, over here in Cape Town, I haven't really had ice cream weather to write home about.
Yeah, we haven't had that. I'm still going to choose chocolate over ice cream, though, Auntie Pat. You even have to think about it.
I'm with you. And shame Sue is writing over there that she currently has COVID. I know my Sue. Guys, for all of you who's listening in or watching this on catch up, there's a lot of people that we know that are currently infected and that are trying to recover. We are going to do a Jeff Ed tomorrow on returning to fitness as well. So please feel free to share this Jeff Ed for everybody you know, to help them to boost their immunity. And thank you so much to Cipla for sponsoring this. The Airmune that they have as well is a nice little multivit boost. Like San said, if you feel the need to just have a multivit, that's the one that you can use. And guys, we're all in this together. So we got to do what we got to do, and we got to keep focusing on what is most important. And at the end of the day, our health is super important. So focus on that and keeping your families and yourself safe and healthy. Thanks so much, Sans, for all of that. Really appreciate it. And we will. Yes. Yeah. And I'll see you guys tomorrow this time again for the COVID specific Jeff Ed. And Sans, we will see you again soon, but you're going on leave soon, hey?
Yes, I am. I'm looking excited.
Listen, you have worked very hard to develop some of the aspects of the nutrition on the club. So you have a well-deserved leave coming up. So that's so good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.